Link! You must find me.
Nah, I'm good. Now, you're going to tell me where your friends are, you stupid Korok. We are coming to the end of the year, and you know what that means.
Which game is going to win Game of the Year?
3 different console exclusives have come up in online discussion for the award: Xbox's Starfield, PlayStation's Spider-Man 2, and Nintendo's Tears of the Kingdom. However, I just want to talk about Tears of the Kingdom. I don't care about Starfield, and Spider-Man 2 barely came out yesterday when this video goes up, so I've not fully experienced it yet. But also, Tears is an interesting choice for the Game of the Year. Is that good or bad? Well, I'm not sure. When the news came out that there won't be DLC and stated that the developers did everything they wanted to do for the game and are moving on to something different for the franchise, I said, that's it. Tears launched with an open world much larger than Breath of the Wild. You can explore the sky, the mainland with new interactions and missions, the caves, and the depths. You're also given the power to create anything. And I mean anything. With Tears being a sequel to Breath, there are still the same things: shrines, Korok seeds, divine beast dungeons. They're called temples, but it's practically the same thing. Crafting your loadout, special abilities, and memories. As for the story, it's a loose sequel. With the revival of Ganondorf, who was sealed away in the early days of Hyrule, Zelda is transported to the past and becomes a dragon. Now Link has to save her, again, by basically relearning everything in the world. Of course, the game launched with critical and financial success, but now people are looking back on it thinking, was it actually good? As for me, I enjoy the game. It is now the second Zelda game I've beaten. Yeah, that's right, I've not gotten into other Zelda games, don't call me a fan. But I wanted to speak my opinion on this matter of Tears being Game of the Year worthy. Yes and no. I first want to talk about the depths, which had no promotion in the marketing, so it was a big surprise to everyone. But it's incredibly underwhelming. Okay, it's cool, like it's a mirrored version of the surface with the light roots connecting to the shrines. But there's not much going on here. Zonite, gloom enemies, fighting bosses you fought before, and it's very dark. Obviously it's underground. It's going to be dark, but the light roots are meant to light it up. But just change it from mysteriously dark to empty dark. Even when you get all the light roots, you get a thing. As far as I know, it doesn't do anything. There aren't interesting points of interest either. It's all the same color scheme and the same structures. At most, you're just there to complete the Yiga missions and collect Zonite, and if you're feeling it, you would fight the bosses. Well, kinda need it for the large crystallized charges, but of course you can grind Zonite for charges. Speaking of charges, the charges are used to make batteries are used for your Zonite devices. The devices are fine, I think they add to creating anything. This is more of a me thing, but creating anything was overwhelming and underwhelming for me. Overwhelming because then I'm not sure what to create, and it leads to the puzzle being really simple, or I just end up not using any creations for combat. Then underwhelming because I end up just making one thing constantly, and that's the hover bike. This is the most useful and annoying thing ever. Why did people use this? I can give the other abilities more credit than Ultra Hand, Ascend, and Recall are pretty useful, especially with combat. They're easy to snap to during a fight. You know what not is easy to snap to? Oh my god! Okay, it makes sense to not have the champion's abilities anymore with everything that was added in Tears. You would be overpowered. Instead, in replacement, you get Sage abilities, with the Sages being the warriors that had connections to the champions but now have small changes in their powers. Instead of Mipha's healing, it's Sidon's water shield. Instead of Daruk's shield, it's Yunobo's fire self-launcher. Despite him having a shield before, and that's not been shown again or mentioned. Instead of Rivali's Gale, it's Tulin's horizontal Gale, which is more optimal in Tears compared to the vertical Gale. Instead of your Urbosa's charged lightning attack, it's Riju's complicated charged lightning attack. First of all, these abilities aren't automatic. You have to walk up to one of the champions to activate their abilities. But they are running all over the place when in combat. Their abilities aren't even that useful in combat. It's better to just have them fight on their own, which proves useful at times. Oh wait, but there's another stage I haven't mentioned. Minoru's mech. This thing is not useful at all. It's a slow weapon and only makes you an easier target. Instantly turn it off. But as for the other sages, why couldn't there just be a quick menu to activate one of the abilities? Down on the D-pad is right there, it is empty. Why couldn't they have used that one? Tulin is the best one though. He has the best ability and he aims for the headshots every time. He stays on top. I do believe Tears is a true sequel to Breath and improves on a lot of stuff. The shrines felt more interesting, the bosses were more interesting, and it's still a cool map. So there is a sky to explore. It is cool, but for a while. The only notable thing is the first island, which is basically a copy of the Great Plateau tutorial on Breath. Other than that, there aren't really interesting points of interest. At most, the islands just seem to be an excuse to include more shrines, with most of them being blessing shrines. It's also a way to get Zone 9 devices, and only for getting around Hyrule. Well, the actual points of interest do change in Hyrule. You do new side quests and different aesthetics, I guess. It just feels too samey and different at the same time. Like it's more of a chore to explore compared to Breath's map. Like I've already been through all of this before. And also seriously, you need to activate new towers to update the map. Also, what happened to all the Sheikah technology? Is that just all gone? Was that mentioned? Did I miss that and accidentally skipping the text? There's a completely different history to learn here now with the Zonai. Do we even know what Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf have some correlation in their revivals? Calamity Ganon isn't even mentioned much besides the one side quest with the school and the memorial grave. At least from what I know. Many people don't even recognize Link as a hero. So many interactions you have with NPCs, they just don't know who Link is. At least with Gerudo Town, you can now enter it without a disguise as Riju welcomes Link as he helped them out in the last game. Though we don't get this anymore. I do think Tears is suffering from what I call Super Mario Galaxy 2 syndrome. Galaxy 2 wasn't unfortunately Galaxy 2 enough. It wasn't exactly a sequel to Galaxy, it was just, to quote Squat the Waz,
it's just more Mario Galaxy levels.
Tears is just more of Breath of the Wild with concepts and ideas expanded upon, which is probably why we won't see any future DLC for Tears. It's already been expanded upon. So is this a good thing? Well, I didn't say Galaxy 2 is bad. I don't mind Tears being more Breath of the Wild, but it's kind of alienating at times. Relearning everything, not much story from the first game, same stuff but in different coats of paint. Of course, this is Nintendo we are talking about. They want their games optimal for all players, especially new ones. Going over all of that, I want to restate. I still had fun with Tears despite its oddities and quirks. But Breath of the Wild was definitely more entertaining. Tears has a lot going for it while still kind of being the same thing. It's weird, and for it to potentially win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, I don't exactly see it as a bad thing. The presentation is well done, for the most part. The gameplay is creative, and I'm not overwhelmed or underwhelmed. The story is interesting. It could have been better. The chorus can f*** off. The characters are great. Okay, mainly pure. The side quests feel more worthwhile, actually, and the bosses have more variety in their attacks and looks. Perhaps it is best to move on to a new game. Let Tears be the final stage of the Breath of the Wild era. Not a bad game. Maybe it deserves Game of the Year. All I have to say is, Nintendo, at least, please just add a Sage's quick menu down on the D-pad!